As video becomes more and more prevalent, that is really going to be the driver force for us.
There probably isn't a CIO working today who could have anticipated the range of wireless devices that began entering the market 5 years ago. Smartphones, tablets, and wearable computers mean companies have new ways of interacting with employees and customers. But it also demands a lot of strategic thinking about the future of the network. Listen to Rita Lazar-Tip, Director of Business Technology at Northlands in Edmonton, as she explains the way she's preparing for what's next.
I think for most organizations, and we are somewhat within the same realm, is mobility is significant, and it continues to grow. So from a convention center perspective, the need for that demand, whether it's video, whether it's audio, or internet for that matter as well, all of those services are detrimental. So from a capacity perspective, density becomes a huge impact for us. So we've started down the path of actually revamping and re-architecting the entire framework for the wireless. And we've done some of that already, and we're still in the progress of completing that. So that's a big component, but it's also the services on the mobility side. How do you deliver some of those services? So the apps become a detrimental component as well. We've actually been quite successful in terms of the turnaround time from implementation, but as most organizations, you look at scalability and you need to make sure you go with a vendor that provides you with that density that you're going to be looking for. So a huge component of that is really around that capability. The density, you can only anticipate and you can predict, but that's a moving target, so it does become a bit of a challenge to be able to really nail down those requirements from the get-go. But we've been pretty fortunate. We've been working with a few vendors and looking at the scalability that we've decided that would be adequate for this time frame, and then scaling out, over time. But I think for the most part, we've defined it relatively well within what we've seen the trends being over the last year or so. As video becomes more and more prevalent, that is really going to be the driver force for us significantly as well. When people want to share, so at games or whether it's racing and gaming, when they want to start sharing some of those videos, that's going to be a detrimental piece. So it's working collaboratively with a lot of the vendors, with the ISPs, and trying to figure out what are the statistics, getting the analytics, and looking at the trends is going to kind of drive that on an ongoing basis. So it's not something that you can somewhat define and reevaluate on a yearly or an annual basis. You have to do it on an ongoing.
As Rita points out, mobile computing is creating new expectations all the time, so it's probably best to think of wireless as a constant work in progress. Start thinking about the vendor relationships you have in place today to make sure they can adapt with you tomorrow. And keep in mind emerging forms of shareable content like video. For Canadian CIO TV, I'm Shane Chick.